Are you in the market of trying to buy a new SUV because they are trendy and everyone wants an SUV and every vehicle manufacturer is producing an SUV in their market? Then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to look at 13 budget SUVs sold in South Africa. Which one are the best and which one you should avoid? Stay tuned. That's next on Loving Cars. Without any further delay, let's get down to it. Number one is the Kia Sonet. With a 1-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, there's not much mechanical problems found with the car. It is quite reliable. However, that 3-cylinder engine has a turbo lag the same as other 3-cylinder engines, and it's not that much refined. Sometimes when it's idling, the entire body shakes because 3-cylinders are not that much refined engines because they don't fire their piston evenly, therefore shaking the entire vehicle. However, that is not such a bad thing to do. The bad thing is its pricing. It's not that much cheap compared to other Japanese brands. However, the Kia Sonet is quite a good car to buy. Number two is the Kia Sonet sister, the Hyundai Venue. The Hyundai Venue drives better than the Kia and handles a little bit more better. However, it seems like its styling is quite subjective because I'm not a fan of the way Hyundai is designing their cars recently. However, it's a pretty good car. 1-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged. If you go for the turbocharged version, then you're pretty good. The naturally aspirated 3-cylinder one is underpowered. You're going to have a problem driving that car full load uphill. Stick with the 1-liter 3-cylinder. Nothing much wrong with that car. Kia produce good cars in South Africa. It's in the United States where they have a bad reputation of their 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engines that breaks the entire engine and it just blow up because they're trying to put more power in a small engine to hold a bigger body because of the demand in the American market. However, in South Africa, their engines are pretty much reliable. I don't have any issues with Kia and Hyundai. They're pretty much good cars. Number three, now the problem begins. That's the Renault Triber. The Renault Triber is a sister to the Nissan Magnite. However, their 3-cylinder turbocharged engine is similar but not quite the same. However, the ECU and the computer and the way the car is programmed the same as the Nissan Magnite. So most of the electrical, and other mechanical gremlins that you experience in your Magnite, you might also experience in the Renault Kiger. However, the Renault Kiger has a longer service interval of 15,000 kilometers or every 12 months, and the Nissan Magnite has a 10,000 service kilometer interval or 12 months. That's because the Nissan Magnite has a smaller oil sump, while the Renault Kiger has a much bigger oil sump. However, I've actually realized that the Renault Kiger is quite a little bit more reliable than the Nissan Magnite itself. There are more Nissan Magnites that are defective than the Renault Kiger. However, I wouldn't recommend you buying that car. It's underpowered the way it is and has a horrible turbo lag. If you buy the naturally aspirated one, you're gonna have a problem driving it on the road because people will be passing you by and you have to downshift almost all the time. It's like they gave into the SUV demand while they didn't want to give more and invest more in the vehicle. There's a lot of cut cost involved in that particular vehicle, and I don't like the front. The front looks like it's a quid. It's the back that looks a little bit better. However, if you like the Kiger the way it is, you can go ahead and buy it and probably take the car back in 3 months to the dealership because it will be giving you some problem. I understand there might be some people who might not be having problems with the Renault Kiger. However, many people are experiencing problems, so stay away from that one. Number four, staying in the Renault range. This one is somehow a little bit more reliable than any other SUVs found in the Renault range. It's the Renault Capture. However, this one seems like it's a hatchback which has been bloated with wider bumpers and wider wheel arches and flares to make it look like an SUV because it's not that much spacious. It's quite more similar to the Mazda CX-3. They are not spacious at the back, and I don't know why these cars call them SUVs because they don't look like SUVs to me, and they don't have that practicality that meets an SUV. However, the Capture is quite good looking, especially the most updated one. It has issues with its electronic handbrakes. Sometimes that button, when you press it, does not want to release the handbrakes, but there's a solution for that. You just put the car on drive, it will automatically disengage the handbrake. However, beside that, there's not much issues with the engine. other than the fact that it has a 0.9 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, which is underpowered in most cases, unless if you buy the 1.3 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. That one has enough power to get you going. The transmission and the Renault Capture seems like it has a problem communicating with the engine. It's not a good marriage, more especially the first gear. It is very short, and you always have to shift it quick to the second gear because it runs out of power very quickly. Feels like it's a crawling gear rather than a first gear. However, you can't start it at the second gear because when you do that, you bend the clutch or either stall the engine. So it's not quite a very good transmission. However, it's a good car, just it's a little bit more expensive. Number 5 is the Suzuki Fronx. Suzuki Fronx is actually a Suzuki Baleno on steroid or stilettos. Very good car, 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, producing 70 to 74 or 75 kilowatts. I'm not sure about that. However, it is a very good engine. It's not the quickest though, but it will get you to where you need to go. And a very reliable car, simple to maintain, no problem with that one. You can definitely go ahead and buy the Fronx. 6, the Suzuki Grand Vitara is the older brother of the Baleno or the Fronx. A little bit more spacious, a little bit more bigger, and has a little bit more bigger profile. However, it uses the same engine. This one feels like it's underpowered because that engine is struggling to move such a bigger body. However, if you get the manual transmission, you'll be happy with that because the 4-speed torque converter, old school automatic transmission used in Suzukis are not very good because they take forever to shift. I would recommend that you stick with a 5-speed manual transmission. That will make you happy. 7, Suzuki's copycat, the more expensive version of the Suzuki Grand Vitara is the Toyota Urban Cruiser. It's a good car, same engine inside the Suzuki, same interior, just a change of the badge, a different bumper and a little bit of a tweak in the grille. Everything is the same, just a Toyota badge, and you make it a little bit more expensive. It's a good car, the same as a Suzuki. If you want that car just because you want a Toyota badge, go ahead and buy it, but they're just the same. Number 8 is the Peugeot 2008. This one has a little bit of issues. If you buy the diesel one, it has a problem with clogged DPF or the diesel particulate filter. If you buy the 1 liter 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, it is a wet belt driven engine. Shares the same engine with the Opel Mokka, which has a problem of a wet driven engine. These are the same engines that are found in the Ford EcoSport, that are found in the Ford Figo, that are found in the 1 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged Ford EcoBoost engines. They are a problematic engine when it comes to wet belt. This is because instead of chain driven, Peugeot, Stellantis and Ford decided to use a belt that goes inside the oil and holds the crank together with the valves. So when what happens is the oil degenerates the belt because it's hot. So the belt, when it goes through the hot oil and all that friction, it degenerates, and that belt material clogs your oil pickup tube and then starve your entire engine of oil, therefore killing your entire engine. So I would recommend that you stay away from those particular cars. However, if you can service them every 10,000 kilometers, make sure that you check your timing belt and change it at 100,000 or 90,000 kilometers, you'll definitely be good. Yeah, you'll be good. 9, we're getting into the Chinese range, the Haval Jolion, with a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Not much of a great car when it comes to drive. It's very thirsty. That's one issue that I have. Another issue is its electrical problems. Other people have reported infotainment screens just shutting off. Those that have got the top of the range version, alarms just go off without no reason. And another most problematic issues is that if your car has a problem, it takes a long time for parts to arrive in South Africa, and which means you might spend 2 or 3 months without a vehicle. And many people who bought the Haval and Cherry are struggling to get a courtesy car because dealerships are not enthusiastic in lending them a car because they are waiting for Haval South Africa or Cherry South Africa for a loaner car, and it never arrives. So you buy a car which you are paying for 3 or 4 months and it's sitting at the dealership waiting for a part that comes from China being shipped. which might be a wrong part, by the way. By the time it gets to you, and you will be frustrated. So I would recommend just wait a little bit before you buy them. However, there are some people who are driving them, they're happy with them, they don't have a problem. However, if you have a lot of money in paying for petrol, buy them. Tiggo 4 Pro, similar problem with the Haval Jolly on. However, this one also includes the sunroof, malfunctioning, opening itself and closing itself, some windows refusing to open and close, engines just dying, the entire dashboard lighting like a Christmas tree. The Chery Tiggo 4 Pro is not that much reliable of a vehicle, especially if you get the top of the range one. However, the entry level one with a naturally aspirated 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine is not that much problematic. However, it's pretty much slower for a 4-cylinder engine. But if you want to take a risk, you can buy the Chery, and you will be having a peace of mind of 10-year warranty, which I doubt that you might keep a Chery for 10 years. However, that's a marketing strategy that they're using. So you can go ahead and buy it and spend more money in petrol. Number 10, Volkswagen Polo on steroids. That's the Volkswagen T-Cross. 1 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, reliable Volkswagen engine. Same engine found in the Volkswagen Polo. Brilliant engines. I've never had anyone complain of turbos. It is one of the most awesome and best tuned 3-cylinder engines ever. Volkswagen produces the best 3-cylinder turbocharged engines ever. I mean, seriously, driving that vehicle sometimes make you feel like they underestimated the power of that engine. They might say it has 75 kilowatts, but I think and I feel it produces more than 75 kilowatts, and that's because most of that engine comes low just after the 1500 rpm. The turbo kicks in. It's one of the earliest turbo kicking 3-cylinder engines ever. It has the minimalistic turbo lag that you can ever experience. It's a very good car. However, it's not that much well priced. In my opinion, it's a little bit more expensive, and I think Volkswagen is shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to this one. But a brilliant, reliable engine. Number 11, Mahindra XUV 300. It is claimed that it's an SUV, but to me it's a hatchback that has been lifted up with the suspension and given some plastic clothing around the wheel arches and call it an SUV. But that is not an SUV. It's quite a little bit spacious than most hatchbacks. However, it is still a hatchback. So it doesn't have much of problems. What I know about the Mahindra is that it had problem with the boost pressure pipe that connect the turbocharger to the intercooler. Sometimes it will just erupt and blow up, and then you lose turbo boost, taking your car into limp mode, and you would have to be towed into the nearest Mahindra workshop. However, they are pretty much reliable engines and reliable cars. They don't have that much electrical problems. The problem might be that the infotainment system that they use is very much cheap. It's Indian. You can tell that it's Indian. And the climate control cluster looks like it's an aftermarket thought, according to me. But it's a very good looking car. On the outside, the interior Mahindra would have done a little bit better, but pretty good car. Number 13 and 14 are the cars that I've covered in some of the vehicles that I was talking about, relating to them, because they are more or less the same. Is the Nissan Magnite at number 12 and the Ford EcoSport at number 14. Magnite, there's a video that I've dedicated all about its problems. Is there, you can search it on my page. The EcoSport, however, is no longer sold as a brand new car in South Africa. Ford discontinued it, and they brought in the Ford Puma, which is way more expensive, and it has the same EcoBoost engine that people are complaining about. So I personally have a feeling Ford will have to pull out of the country very soon, just like Nissan is actually doing. They are outpricing themselves, and they're producing cars that are no longer that reliable. The only car that is keeping them on the market is the Ford Ranger. Without the Ford Ranger, they are no longer relevant. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the 13 SUVs you could buy in South Africa. Which one do you like, and which one do you think you should buy?